Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Dual Screens podcast. I am one of your hosts, Stephen Fontana, and with me, as always, he's Andy Asimakis, and he's got a runny face. How you doing, Andy?
You know, there are a few things that can get me out of bed to, like, work and be responsible.
Can I guess one of them?
Yeah, you can.
Pixel art.
Oh, you're so close.
Okay.
I was going to say there's two main things, and pixels. So you're right there.
Okay.
And this falls into the latter category.
The latter category.
When I saw this game, I was like, this is going to be good.
This is the one. This is a
gonna
good
be
one.
Real good.
Yeah, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us this week, we have a trio representing Quartet. That's right. That's a little weird to say, but it's true. We have Tyler, we have Peter, we have Patrick of Something Classic, the developers of Quartet, a retro-inspired turn-based Jrpg where you can play 4 interconnected stories in any order. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. How are you?
Very good, thank you.
Awesome. So I do have a question, but before we get into the leadoff question of the show, I want to tell people what the hell they're listening to. Folks, if this is your first time here, this is the Dual Screens podcast, the internet's #1 indie developer interview podcast starring 2 dudes you have never heard of, probably. The show posts each and every Friday for your listening pleasure on your podcast service of choice, including our home, podbean.com. We're on Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify, Apple, your sister's ass. Wherever you listen to podcasts, we are there. And of course, you could watch the video version of the show on youtube.com/dualscreens.tv. And if you want to support us with your hard-earned cash dollar bills, y'all, you can make it rain all up inside Patreon at NDS Podcast. That's it, patreon.com/NDS podcast. That's what I was trying to say. And we want to thank our Patreon producers, Colton the Apprentice Nestler, FNH Paul, and Vegas Girl on Fire. We cannot continue to grow without all of your support, and we thank you from the very bottom of our empty, soulless hearts. Emptyless hearts. That's you. Your heart is so empty, it's emptyless. Now,
part of my bottom.
Gentlemen. The leadoff question.
Start your engines.
Yes, the leadoff question here is usually Andy's, but I do have a question for you.
Okay, so I have one too, so you can.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I'll do the
now, was Quadropath Traveler taken?
Well, what happened was we were going with that name, but then a team of Square Enix hitmen invaded my living room in the middle of the night.
That explains it.
As I was trying to watch reruns of Saved by the Bell, and a guy with a laser pointer on his gun told me that we can't infringe on their intellectual property like that. Right.
No, that makes sense. Andy, what is your question?
It's more like I have a bone to pick.
Okay.
With all of y'all.
Here we go.
I'm ready.
This is hard-hitting journalism right
here.
So,
listen.
Tyler, brace yourself, bro.
They should all brace themselves for this.
Peter doesn't look like he needs to brace for anything. Like he's prepped for most.
He should get braced.
All right.
So, you describe games like Final Fantasy VI, Wild Arms 2, Dragon Quest V as games that are too long for people with jobs and
this
kids.
Is true. They got a point. They got a point there, Andy.
And a mortgage. That we should instead play your game that features 20 hours of grind-freeness, and it's a JRPG for those with responsibilities. So my question is, why are you trying to upheave my entire life where I've made it a thing where I can game and not go to work? And you're trying to make me game and go to work. I don't like this at all.
That seems irresponsible of you guys. I'm not gonna lie.
This seems like we're off to a bad start.
It's hurtful. Tyler, your thoughts, please.
It's gaming. I can't do both. So we can't go down this road.
Yeah, I could see, like, looking at the three of you, I would expect that from Patrick and Peter. But Tyler, you're over here. You're a thoughtful man. I could see it. Your hand is on your chin. Why would you do this to Andy? Like, honestly, why? Why would you?
Well, we just kind of got a sense that Andy was kind of a degenerate. So maybe this game isn't
he's a
for
big
him.
piece of shit. You're right. You're right on that one.
So
no, but in all seriousness, I think the the solution to your dilemma is just to play games at work. I mean, it's 2021. You haven't been doing that for the last 10 years.
Did we just confirm xCloud? xCloud confirmed. Let's make that. That's the title of the website.
Or this is coming to Switch. It's
xCloud
also a possibility.
Confirmed.
Yes. Yeah. I just want to make a breaking announcement.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Game Pass exclusive.
Quartet is now confirmed on Etch-a-Sketch.
Yes.
That would be impressive. That would
Coming
be impressive.
That's just the level of optimization our game has, that it can be played on Etch-a-Sketch. Now, you have to do everything yourself, but you're playing the game, I promise.
There is a game there. Now, gentlemen, what the hell do you guys do? We're going to go, well, on my screen it's left to right, which is Tyler, Peter, Patrick. That's the order that I have you guys lined up. So what do you guys do for this game? And then we're going to talk about what the hell the game is, because I don't think our little crash course, back of the box description really does it justice. Tyler, what is your role in the group? So
I'm primarily the composer, producer.
I like that.
Producer, so I tell people what to do, and battle designer. That's my main gig. And then I tweet a lot. I fire off like a tweet every 5 seconds.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't proofread them.
Yeah, so I'm Peter. I'm one of the 2 programmers on Quartet, and so that means I'm writing bugs and making bugs. Usually, I fix more than I break, but sometimes, I have a bad day.
Understood. Patrick?
I am the director and writer and systems designer. We all wear a lot of hats.
Yeah.
I actually have to get my hats in extra large, so it's a real problem when we have to wear more than one.
Yeah.
Custom orders. It's a terrible time. But so I'm writing the script, I direct the cutscenes, and I make the maps, most of the maps. And then I did a lot of the larger systems design with Tyler to create, the systems which allow you to make battles and allow you to tell cutscenes and all that stuff.
Sweet. All right, gentlemen. So I think, Patrick, you're probably actually, I don't know. It could be a tie between Patrick and Tyler, because Tyler's got that PR. He's got the PR pants on with the whole social media thing. But I don't know. Which one of you wants to give our listeners really what Quartet is all about?
You can do it, Pat.
All right. So Quartet is we did talk about the tagline already, which is a JRPG for people with jobs and responsibilities. So we kind of did it like we were really inspired by Final Fantasy VI. So if Final Fantasy VI, a large ensemble, 16-bit looking JRPG if that was a genre, if Final Fantasy VI were a genre, we would be a latter-day descendant of it. In which we have the ensemble cast, multiple storylines weaving together, sort of dramatic tone, and I guess the orthogonal layout of overhead view of JRPG. So like these days, I guess a lot of people are really into isometric format, but that's enough for us. Games should be about 20 hours long. We designed it so that you don't need to grind. There are no items which are ever lost forever, because who has time for that? When I look at people say, well, in Dark Souls, if you really do this thing, I'm like, I don't like, that would have been cool when I was 18, but that bird has flown. So there's nothing in the game can be lost forever. And your typical quest is going to be about 30 minutes. You can save anytime. You can start any battle over that you lose. We just want to respect your time and understand that we're trying to tell a good, JRPG, not quite save the world, but high stakes, magic, airships, bad guys, ancient conspiracies, that kind of story. But we're going to do it in 20 hours so you can get on with your day.
I respect that. Let me tell you, as somebody who is still stuck on the 3rd biome of Returnal, I respect that, sir. I respect that greatly. Now,
I love those games too, but I just, we don't have time to make or play them.
No, I get it. And, I'm a dad. I have 2 young kids and I have a full-time job, and I do this 40 hours a week, content create and all that stuff. Like, I'm constantly doing shit. And a lot of the times playing games is no longer a recreation. It's a second, job thing for us. So like when you have a game that you're like, oh, I'm really excited about this, but it's 60 hours, or all my buddies are going to play this game like New World that's coming out soon, and you're like, yeah, but I can't play that because I have 9 story games that I need to play. I can't just sit there and enjoy an MMO that's going to want 3, 5, 7,000 hours of my time. Now, Andy, I saw. So Andy was the one that was talking to you guys on Twitter DMs. I kind of just take a back seat. Sometimes I'll read it. Sometimes I'll just be like, all right, whatever, he's doing his thing. But I was like, all right, so we got this show on the books. It's on the calendar. I'm going to go take a look. So I clicked it. I was like, oh, I instantly knew why Andy got you guys on this show. This is like Andy's bread and butter. But what some might not know is that when I was a youngin', these 16-bit JRPGs were the shit. And it was what I wanted to play all the time, always. And I am very excited that more of these games are being made, and not only just more of them, but of such good quality. What can you guys speak to your systems and the quality outside of just your run-of-the-mill JRPG? You said you built some systems. Talk about those systems a little bit.
Sure. I think we probably all chime in on this.
Yeah.
I just want to say up front that we're trying to make like trying to be what Squaresoft was in the 1990s. So we're trying to like create a way to make JRPG content fast, affordably, and a lot of it, not necessarily all in the same game, but we're really trying to create. So when we spend a lot of pre-production creating tools that should allow us to make content really fast. And actually the game's like 90% programmed. So Peter can tell you more about what that process was like. But our tools are ready. We just need to buy a whole lot of art, for all those fancy locations like a battlefield, a battlefront between two countries, ancient castles and all the classic mountaintop outdoor dungeon, all those classic sort of JRPG locations. We need to buy those things. That's what we're doing with our Kickstarter.
Yeah, if I may, just to give a little micro elevator pitch of the game systems that sort of I think make it stand out. So the basic premise of Quartet is that there are 4 stories, and like a Wild Arms 2 or 3 or Dragon Quest 5, you select between any of those 4 stories at the beginning and play in any order. And I guess you mentioned Octopath. That is definitely kind of an inspiration. But unlike Octopath, these stories are going to come together in a grand plot, an FF6 style plot with a large ensemble cast centered around one central conflict. That was like a definite weakness we saw in Octopath, was that the story idea was cool. I think Seiken Destiny 3 does it, and Live a Live and other games like that. But we really wanted a game where the plots really came together, but there was a non-linear story at the beginning. Wild Arms is probably the closest analogy. And the combat features like an FF10 style swapping system. So once you get past your basic party lineup of 4, at any time you can bring in a reserve party member to the front line and use them instantly. That was something I really wanted to see in more RPGs, and you just don't see it for some reason. And now I think those 2 systems are kind of the hallmark of the story and gameplay. As far as systems, I'll let one of these other guys talk about that, but that's like kind of the elevator pitch.
Awesome. Well, so talk about the programming aspect of that, like the pre-production.
Yeah,
Peter.
Yeah, so programming, programming is interesting because you're like, well, we're going to do a demo, we're going to take a small portion of the game and we're going to ship it. But with a game like this, like RPGs, designing a vertical slice of the game, you need to basically implement all of the systems. Like you need most of the menu system, you need save load functionality, you need the entire battle engine all moving around on the field, just like, so you really need to kind of build almost the entire game like systems wide in order to just like play a little 40-minute demo. But the great news is that once those systems are built, you can just scale out the content production. So, we're using Tiled is an open source map editing software. A lot of people use it. So we're using that, super tiled to Unity, import that to Unity. Our whole game is written in Unity. So we have just a ton of flexibility over what we can do. We're using a library called Yarn Spinner from the Night of the Woods. Right?
Yeah.
Developers, they released this library called Yarn Spinner, where basically you can kind of write cutscenes as if they were kind of like movie scripts. So the dialogue and then the actions and the blocking and the cutscene, or you just write that out as like a text in a big file. So all the cutscenes are written out like this. And we're using another tool called Artisy for our database, where we program all of the kind of like the AI macros and the enemy skills and items and everything. And so whenever we need to add new stuff, we just kind of like go into these tools and just add it in, and it's super easy to just churn out levels and monsters and encounters, and it's a lot of fun. But yeah, it was definitely a huge amount of upfront work that we had to do to get this done.
So much, but it was really nice. Actually, to give you an illustration of how powerful that pre-production ended up being, almost all of that technology that Peter just described, we're actually using for a client to make his game. We have a client who wanted to make his dream RPG. That's what he wanted to do with his savings. And we're making this thing called My Familiar. So we're using all of that technology for him as well. And he's got his own art budget. We need our own to make ours. Art, this is a pro tip to anyone who wants to get into indie gaming. Art is going to be like 80% of your costs. You need a lot of it, especially in JRPGs. But we were able to port over most of that stuff and just start using it pretty quickly. Relative to how long a game development project normally takes, and it hit the ground running, and we're making his JRPG too.
If you don't mind me asking, what is that costing him to be like, here's a sack of money, can you make my game for me, guys?
It's not a small number. I can't really go into
can't
betray my clients, but
yeah, but if it's a night again, I think that says a lot. That's not a small
think
number.
of it this way: if you think to yourself, I need money to do X, and if anything comes between like, oh, I really need to do X before I make a video game, then you're not ready to make a video game with to pay for one. You might be ready to make one on your own,
right?
But if there's any financial need between you and the game, you need to get money from some other source, like a Kickstarter or a publisher.
Gotcha.
All right.
And we're in that boat too. We get paid by him, but we are in that boat of we need money because video games are expensive.
Yeah.
I want to get there someday and be like, here's a nice chunk of money, and just hand it off to like a competent dev and be like, hey guys, here's my idea. Just make this shit for me, and I'll see you in a couple of years.
We got close, Andy.
I'll DM you my PayPal.
We got close, Andy. We got close.
Yeah, we sniffed it and then we lost it. Can you guys sort of define what grind free means in this game? Because when I see that term, I think of a game like Bravely Default, where I can just switch off random encounters, but if I want to level up or max out a character, I gotta grind at some point in the game. What does that term mean in Quartet, grind free?
Yeah, so it's kind of the same design ethos that we had on our last game, Shaz Fathom, in the sense that the counters are like it's kind of a Chrono Trigger style balancing of the game, in which there's kind of a linear path. We sort of experience route you to get certain skills at certain times. So all the tools you need to win battles, beat bosses, conquer challenges are given to you. It's just sort of figuring out the right optimal strategies, the best way to express yourself with the problems. So there should be no point in which you're playing the game where you get to a boss and it's clear that you, just don't have the HP or defense thresholds because of your level or something like that. If you're basically going through all the battles that the game is giving you, because they're on screen, sometimes in static locations, a few might be moving around, you should be able to get through fine. We didn't want to make a game where grinding was necessary. It just wasn't in the design ethos of our game. And just kind of with the whole aesthetic of being a JRPG for people with, limited time. I love grindy games. I mean, when my son was born, I stayed up till 4 every night with him, and I grinded every single Esper in FF6. I had a great time.
Wow.
I grinded every single magic spell in Grandia, and I used 2 of them. So I like grinding for sure, but it's just not the kind of game we wanted to make. We wanted a game where if you were creative, if you used your options smartly and cleverly, because you have 8 characters, right? And you can bring anyone in at any time. So theoretically, if you're just using the tools we give you, you should be able to conquer all your challenges. And grinding just didn't make sense with the kind of game we wanted to make.
Right.
For people who want to grind, I suppose, you could just refight battles if you wanted to, but it's not really something you have to do. I very much feel like it's very Chrono Trigger-esque. I know developers always cite that, but when you play Chrono Trigger, you really don't have to grind. The game is very smartly played. It's like the kind of game like just like everything is like a planned moment, right? I mean, maybe it shouldn't feel like that. It should feel like subversive in a way, but we're like planning experiences for the player. And Chrono Trigger did that so well. You got to the next level about the level you needed to be, and you had all the tools you needed to beat the boss. If you were losing, you just needed to kind of look at your strategy. There's very few times I could think of ever playing Chrono Trigger where I had to be like, okay, it's clear I'm just under leveled. But I mean, how many JRPGs have y'all played where you just get curb stomped? I was playing Trails in the Sky, and it was pretty clear that I just needed 2-3 levels. I needed more gold so I could go get the armor I missed in that town. And it was like, there was no way I could just keep up with the damage output. Like I tried to retool my strategy. It was like, all right, I've accepted that after 30 hours, I have to actually fight a random encounter. And we just didn't want that.
It reminds me a lot of like the philosophy behind tabletop RPGs, where it's like you have your party, you have a challenge rating for that party. With the tools that they have, they should be able to win every encounter, but sometimes they're dumb and they don't know the right way to take something on. So some of them will die or whatever, but like they can try again or whatever. But it's like you're kind of taking the role of the DM here, and you're saying, all right, we're gonna craft an experience for you where we're not gonna gatekeep you based on the way you play the game. It's not going to be, if you want to take your time with something, great. If you want to rush through, great. But it's about the battles themselves, not about the numbers underneath the battles. Which is something we could all get obsessed about, right? Like we love seeing numbers go up. Like that's why JRPGs are what they are.
Speaking of numbers going up, if you want to make our numbers go up on our Kickstarter.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, there it is.
But what you said, you know, I was thinking about you know, the 33-year-old mother, father gets home from work. They just want to play a 30, 40-minute session. Like, we don't want them to feel like I can't get to this. I'm really looking forward to what happens next in the plot, but I just can't beat this boss because I need 3 more levels. That's just that audience is really a big part of who we have in mind with these games. And we wanted to make the systems, you know, harmonious with that philosophy. And so, yeah, that's just sort of how we like. I feel like there's so many times in RPGs where I like really want to know what happens next. And I'm really invested in the characters of the plot of the world, or whatever. And I just don't want to have to grind to beat a boss. And it's the game is making it ultra clear that like there's just a level requirement and you have to meet it. Right. Unless you're like a speedrunner and you know like ultra tech, but you know you have to have like a galaxy brain level understanding of the mechanics. But that was just sort of, I know Pat had something to say. So
I mean, our reading of actually I wrote several books about the design of JRPGs from the 1990s on Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy VI, and Final Fantasy VII. And essentially the lesson, the meta lesson I learned from writing those books was that JRPGs in that time in sort of the Squaresoft golden age were not about big, elegant systems like Dungeons and Dragons and something like Diablo and other like really crunchy RPGs are about the systems that underpin them. And you're trying to master a system and not see a story necessarily. Although it's nice sometimes if you see a story, but still, you've got a lot of little systems and nuts and bolts to understand. And JRPGs were not like that. They were about having moments, and the system supported the moments. And then towards the back of the game, you know, you would get into the more crunchy stuff if you wanted to. But to beat the last boss, you really didn't need to do anything too fancy, because that's not what they were trying to do. I think after Final Fantasy IV, they realized, like, guys, let's just focus on what we're good at and what we enjoy and what people like about our games, which is having characters we care about, have arcs that close meaningfully at the end of, you know, beating this boss. You know, it's not about can you mix and match the Lancer and chemist skill sets. It's not about that. Like, it's great if you can, and if you want to do that, you'll be able to kick the ass of the boss. But at the same time, you know, you're not looking at 12 optional bosses that you need to get through, and the boss is not going to immediately do, you know, more damage than you thought you could ever have in HP on the first round to tell you, oh, by the way, you need 10 more hours of this game to finish it. No, we're just moments first and systems second. The systems are there to support the moments, because that is for us what the great JRPGs were about in the time that we loved them the most.
Well, on that, who are some of the characters that the systems are supporting in Quartet?
Sure. So the way that we designed when we started out, Tyler and I started out, we said we would do 4 protagonists, and each of them has another character that comes with them eventually. So you get 8 characters in total. The Quartet is the 4 stories about these 4 characters and their foils who all join them. So you have Cordelia the Mage. She's kind of a stuffy, highly educated, legalistic, more traditional attack mage. She's just out there. She's like the glass cannon. And she gets snubbed for a promotion in her steampunk oriented magical bureaucracy. And she takes and she took that personally. And so she heads out to essentially with her world's version of the Old West, to make a name for herself because she's just so mad about it. And that's her story. And she meets Jerome, the doctor, who she's actually known most of her life, but hadn't seen in a few years. That story's all four stories connect. They're all part of the same overall plot. But I just want to say that each of the opening chapters, which you can play in any order, has a different tone. It's sort of like a different like genre of story. So Cordelia's got this sort of Old West story of the city girl goes out to the Old West and has to do what she has to do. Then you have Nikolai, who's really sort of the most traditional JRPG protagonist in that he's a soldier. He's tasked with fighting a war. He's conflicted about what he has to do in that war. I mean, that's so JRPG. He discovers this ancient golem, Zikaron, and he sort of gets embroiled in this plot that he had no idea. He was just he's just like a boy from a farm town, and he gets embroiled in this sort of ancient war that has been going on for a long time that people didn't really know about. And he's more of like the go-getter, traditional JRPG protagonist, like let's go do the quest, guys. Not everyone always responds positively to that. A lot of times some of the other party members will be like, dude, like, come on, like you're kind of impetuous. Like, why don't we think this through, or do we really need to be doing that? But that's the kind of person that he is. Ben is a cook. He worked in a restaurant until the day of his quest begins. And he accidentally manifests his magical powers really late in life and blows up his restaurant. Nobody gets hurt, thankfully, but the restaurant is just in cinders. And when he wakes up from essentially like a 3-day coma after doing this, there's essentially a magical police officer. That's his foil, Agata. And she's like, yeah, you are now a mage, so you have to come to mage school. And he's like, I'm not doing that. I'm in my 30s. I'm not going back to school. I was a terrible student. And so he tries to manage with his magical powers through a series of misadventures that gradually reveal to him how his world works with people like him in it. Like he, in the country that he lives in, anybody could manifest magical powers at any time. And that's a very dangerous proposition. And so there's a lot of sort of underlying systems and orders that make sure society can hold together, and he slowly discovers what those are, even though most people are not aware of them. But his genre is sort of more like Ben's story is more of a comedy, and that he's really sort of laid back about what happens. And then the fourth story is about a shop girl, Alexandra, whose mother has recently fallen into a coma for reasons that are unclear, and she's the reluctant one. Another JRPG staple. She doesn't want to be on a quest. She doesn't want to be fighting. But her brother, who's a bit of a small time gangster, is like, well, we got to make money to, continue our mother's, nursing home care. And the only way that you can make enough money is if you help me in my crimes, low level crimes. And she's like, oh, fine. Because she's really serious about, keeping her mom healthy. And she's really committed to that. But while on a robbery, this is essentially the first thing that happens, she discovers a magical deck of cards. And in her country, which is all the countries of this world have been separated for a while, they don't have a lot of contact. In her country, people think that magic doesn't exist anymore. And they know that scientists in her country know that magic exists in wild creatures, but as far as they're aware, no human has had magic in a few hundred years. So when she gets this magical deck of cards and magical things start happening to her, and this mysterious ghost appears and starts following her around, essentially haunting her, she's not thrilled with that. And so she ends up having to deal with, the return of magic specifically to her in a society that doesn't really believe in that, and all of her family problems on top of that. So she has to find a way to deal with a ghost, magic, and her impending destiny when she's just a shop girl who was trying to fix her freezer before all of this happened.
What's up with the pig?
Oh, so that's Juna. Most people say hippo. Most people say hippo.
Oh, really? Okay. Is it a pig? Am I right?
No, she's what's called a Eurofant, the fantasy creature.
Right.
She's like she's similar to a hippo in build and features, but so yeah, not a hippo. Eurofant, fantasy creature similar to a hippo, sort of in between a hippo and a wild hog.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you had like an intermediate step there, that would be where Juna is. But again, talking, magic using, sapient creature.
Now you mentioned a lot of magic using magic card. There's a magic cook. There's some other mages. Are all these classes around magic, or are they like they look to your typical or inspired by your JRPG staples of classes of jobs like a thief?
Yeah, I mean,
or a drug
everybody
dealer,
can
those
use
kinds of
magic
things?
except Agata. Everybody can use magic, but they also have it's in the sense that it's like Final Fantasy VI. Just because you use magic doesn't mean you're not also a tanky monk, right? Alexandra is a tank. Agata is a tank. Cordelia is the only one who's like a really dedicated role. She's like a glass cannon mage, but you could use Juna as a tank or a healer. You could use Jerome as a healer or physical DPS. So everybody's got a little bit of utility, but their magic reflects that. I mean, Tyler could comment a little bit more. He worked a lot on balancing all the abilities.
Sure.
Yeah, basically what Pat said. They all have just a basic job class they basically fall into, but they have a little bit more utility. But we needed all 8 characters to be different, because unlike games where the characters can kind of do everything, which makes sense for some games, we needed them to feel different, so you'd have a reason to pick others over one over the other. So when you're swapping, you might think, okay, I need a little bit of AoE heal. Let me bring in Jerome. He's the most effective healer. I need someone who's got really good speed and multiple hits. I'll bring in Agatha, etc. So yeah, everyone's kind of got a niche they occupy with not a whole lot of customization in their skill set, but more so with their gear. But like Agatha's never going to be the mage level that Cordelia is, for instance. So people have their specialties for sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to like there's 4 elements, right? Wind and water and fire and earth, and each character is kind of associated with an element. So there's 2 elements, 2 characters per element. So, but each character has kind of their own take on it. So like Jerome and Cordelia are both water, but one is ice. Like Cordelia's magic is generally ice based, and Jerome's is generally water based. And so like each character kind of follows a pattern where they might share an element, but their take on that element is a little bit different, which is I think is really cool in just how it reflects in the art in the game.
Does it have utility outside of art? Like, is ice at some point better against something than water?
Oh, absolutely. The elemental rock, paper, scissors is spread throughout. So that's another reason to swap. We created the game so that you would really want to swap. You don't have to. Like, if you really wanted to just pick, like, at one convention that Tyler went to, everybody just wanted to keep Ben on the field at all times because they like him. And we want that to be possible. But if you swap to the elemental weakness of the boss, like you oh, this guy's weak against fire, I'm going to swap in Nikolai and Zakaran, who both use fire, and your game will go a lot easier. Not necessarily, a cakewalk, because maybe that boss will counter by muting you or something like that, and then you need to bring in a guy, Jerome, who can cure status ailments. But the goal is that elemental rock, paper, scissors is a big part of that. And actually, we have 3 physical elements too. So you have slash, pierce, and blunt physical damage. And most of your enemies will have a weakness to that too, or a strength that you want to avoid.
Mm.
Right.
That's why I enjoyed Final Fantasy IX a lot, because you had very distinct character types. And to see all the game's offers, you had to use them all at some point in the game.
We definitely wanted that.
Yeah, it's a fine line we're writing, because I loved FF10's combat system, but sometimes it felt a little bit too linear. Like Pat was saying, there might be in some circumstances more optimal characters to bring out because of elemental weaknesses, because of the type of skills they do. Not necessarily like you just have their weakness, but like I just need someone who's fast. I need someone who does X. There's qualitative differences between the cast. But we didn't want it to be like, oh, here's the flying enemy, got to bring in Waka, like that can get a little old. And so it's more like you're in a situation where maybe, like Pat said, like a boss mutes you, he silences you. So it's like, all right, well, who are my best melee fighters? I'll bring them in. Or maybe there's a circumstance where there's a barrier change boss, or maybe there's a circumstance where like the boss is really fast, so we need someone who's got speed, or someone who can like give other characters turns faster, stuff like that. There's lots of niche situations we can come up with. So it's not just like as simple as like they're weak to water, so we're gonna bring in Cordelia. Oh, by the way, don't at me, because Cordelia uses ice magic, but it's water elemental because ice is made of water.
Right.
Is that a contested fact?
I'm pretty sure in my physics class, the 3 stages of states of matter. There's like liquid turns into solid. Like when you freeze water, it becomes ice. Anyway, I'm being a little facetious.
Should have done like a gas mage.
Yeah, we're actually gonna have a 9th character who uses water plasma.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
No, I'm just laughing because one of some of our first screenshots we shared publicly, we posted a shot of Cordelia in her spell book, and it was something like Blizzard, and it said water damage to all enemies, and someone's comment, that's ice magic. It's like
it's magic, dude.
Ice
There's
is made
no
of
rules.
water.
We make the rules. We decide.
So there's this crazy thing. There's called these ice cube trays, right? What do you put in them to make the ice happen?
Magic.
Water.
Bacon grease.
Anyway, I just thought that was.
I love that. I love people.
But we try to like Pete said, theme each, every character. There's 4 elements every character has, or 2 are represented by every character, and there's a little different flavor. But so ice is water, y'all. Don't at me.
Are there crystals in this game?
Crystals.
So there are some devices that are made of a crystalline structure that are able to that are pretty important to the plot. They're manufactured devices.
I see.
And there's a little bit of background you can find. Actually, there's a little bit of background. If you play our demo, we have a 30 to 45 minute demo that you can actually get on the Kickstarter page entirely for free for PC, Linux, and Mac. Used car salesman over. But you can actually read a little bit about those crystals, and I love this is lore books. Like the demo takes place in a library, an abandoned, monster-infested, magical library to just check off as many JRPG tropes.
Right,
ancient, it's also ancient. Excuse me.
Ancient, yep.
Forgot about that. Yeah,
of course.
So checking off
mysterious
5 boxes. Yeah, mysterious. Yep, definitely mysterious.
Pretty mysterious.
I have a question.
Yes.
Does any character suffer from insomnia? Not insomnia.
Or amnesia.
Amnesia. No.
Insomnia.
Nobody suffers from. We decided we would not go with amnesia
during battle.
Yeah. Oh, what? Okay. What else?
One character does suffer from dyslexia.
Oh, okay. That's
Oh,
cool.
interesting.
That's our take on that.
That's good. No, I like that.
But anyway, so you're in this ancient, mysterious, magical, monster-infested library, and you can read some of the books there to tell you about some of the background lore of the game, including about these ancient crystals, which are still a manufactured product. It's not like elements like there's in the beginning of time, the 4 crystals. There's none of that, because we didn't want it to be something like magic that could be something that could be possessed easily. That's a little too
sure.
That bird has flown. But yeah, there are some crystal devices that become very important in the plot.
Is there time travel?
We can't say what the hook of the game is.
Okay.
I will neither confirm nor deny.
Are there dinosaurs?
Is it Chrono Trigger?
It is not Chrono Trigger. I will say that the main plot does not revolve around time travel, but whether or not it exists at all, I demur.
Demur. Like that word.
I see.
If he tells you the plot,
no, I don't want to know
involving
the plot.
time travel, future Patrick will have to come and kill him.
I understand.
Time traveling dinosaurs,
and the whole freaking world will blow up.
We will make a dinosaur if you there's a quest tier on our Kickstarter for $500. You can make a quest, and including in that you can make a boss. And if you pay us $500, we will make an actual damn dinosaur.
And I will arrange Barney's "I Love You" as a battle theme.
Steven, I've already given them $50. Let's pool up some more money together.
You have the access to our Patreon, my friend.
I know.
That's all you, man. You want to give that to them and write a dual screens quest where you have to rescue 2 dudes making a radio show for nobody?
From a time traveling dinosaur? Hell yeah!
I can do that. There is radio technology in 2 of the worlds.
All right, so let's see if this is worth $500.
2 of the countries.
All right, 2 dudes. They've been slowly releasing subliminal "we need help, we're held against our will" while doing our show. It's a 24-hour-a-day podcast, okay, where they are slowly telling the people out there through the propaganda that they're being held against their will. And you could choose to go investigate this radio station and see what the hell is going on. And then,
so it's like that. So it's like that Derek comedy sketch, The Cool Breeze.
Yeah. We'll call it. What could we call their show? Still Live.
Yeah, we could do it. I could absolutely fit that in either Ben or Alexander's countries.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
And then you could get some sort of. And their boss is. You ever see the show Dinosaurs? This is how we.
I don't remember it, but I do know what you're talking about.
His boss, the Triceratops guy, like that's who the boss is, and he's just been keeping you hostage, keeping the two podcasters hostage.
Oh, that was a good show.
It will be Fonzie and Azzy are the two guys. Fonzie and Azzy, and there'll be one wears a backwards cap. The other one.
Why is no one writing this down? Is my
yeah,
this
is very upsetting to me, Tyler. You seem like
the type you gotta lay down 5 large green bills.
I want to see 5 Benjamins, and then we'll.
Heard that. Well, you already got a half of one, so you know.
You're like a friends and family discount. I feel.
We are neither friend nor family, Andy. That is the problem here.
If we reach $100,000, one of our minor stretch goals will be to put this quest in the game.
I like it.
100,000 just goes in. We'll just
throw it in. All right.
Yeah. Listen, on a more serious note, you guys are like getting close to the end here. You have like 5K to go ish with plenty of time left. What's that like for you guys? Seeing like a really big response from people or throwing money at this thing, and it's gonna make it. I feel it's really
both great and agonizing.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I hear that. Was it a pain? Like most devs talk about how much of a pain in the ass it is to actually build a Kickstarter campaign.
Yes.
Yeah. Huh. Did you do everything internally? Did you like outsource any part of this to other people? Because there are people that like their job is to make Kickstarter campaigns,
and they have way more money than we had to start.
I heard that.
Tyler was the Tyler and actually Peter were the workhorses of the Kickstarter.
Oh, awesome. I write
words and things. These two guys, they worked real hard, and they put it on their back, and they assembled a page. Actually, that's not true. I actually edited our trailer, but that was my major contribution. It was a good trailer. But they put together the page, did a lot of research. They did a really good job. I got to give them a lot of credit. They went through like just the minute details that I'm a high level thinker, and I'm just like, and they were like, no, we need to figure out exactly what punctuation goes in this sentence. And credit to them, because that's what made it work.
Trust me, there's nothing worse than a shitty Kickstarter campaign. Like honestly, there's nothing worse than going in and being like, really, you couldn't proofread this? Like you're asking people for a lot of money, and you didn't. Whatever.
You did hire a friend, a professional community manager, to read over the page too.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which she helped out a lot too, just making sure everything was good. But yeah, it was a pain in the ass to make it.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
This is my second one. Well, I guess third one if you count my personal one. But we did one for our last game too, so kind of know the drill by this point. But and this one's going way better than the last one I did, which I'm extremely grateful for. I mean, we're 85% funded with 2 weeks to go. I'm feeling pretty confident that we can hit it. But you just never take anything for granted. We're trying to.
You never know, man. You never know.
Yeah, squashing all the bugs was a lot of fun. So there's no more bugs, 0. So if there's
no bugs,
you're lying. If you see one, no, that's not there.
Heard that.
It's a feature. You just don't. It's planned.
Right. It's whatever. It's part of the charm, right? The indie dev charm. Did you see a significant growth in your community, or do you just see that a lot of the support that you got was from the community that already existed?
It's hard to say yet. We haven't done like a deep analysis, and Kickstarter doesn't give you so much information.
Right.
But I think most of the people who have backed were Shadows of Adam players. Now, Peter and I didn't work on Shadows of Adam, which was their game that they released in 2017. But Tyler was the producer for that. And it seems like most people are either Peter's wealthy Silicon Valley friends or Tyler's audience. And it does make me wonder, like, how long I am for this project. I'd be like, Pat, you really didn't pull your weight there.
You gotta have like flipping a sign on the street corner.
Yeah. I have like 4 or 5 fans from my book series who probably chipped in. And so I'm a little worried about the inequity in that. But because these two guys definitely carried me.
Well, that's fine. Andy, it's time. Did you know that?
It is time, but
It
I
is.
kind of want to ask one final question
About the game.
first.
Yes.
Not about the game, more about
Or about-
RPGs. in
Sure.
general.
Yeah.
And it's semi deep-ish question, but and you can all take turns answering if you like. I was on Reddit a few days ago, as I am during the day when I'm at work, and someone posted just a random like 2D sprite-based side-scrolly game. Like, here's my new game, comes out next week, check it out. And some one guy was like, I'm really sick of seeing these NES, SNES, 16-bit sprite games pop up. And the guy just got roasted in the comments. Like, you know what you're talking about. These games are great. Like, don't play it if you don't like it. Seeing a game like this, Quartet, it invokes so many memories of the games that we grew up with. What is it about this particular format, this style, that is just timeless? Because I feel 10, 20 years from now, we'll still be playing games that look like this does. What's the appeal in a game that looks and feels like this one does?
I'll only speak to my own personal experience, but the first time I ever experienced a JRPG, it just felt so different than all the media I was consuming as a kid in the United States. It was so wildly different. It was so creative and colorful. So the characters felt so diverse and exciting and fantastical. I don't know. I just remember I had my older sister is about 7 years older than me, was friends with a neighbor who lived down at the end of the street. And he was he was a big video game guy. He had a SNES, and I would just kind of go to his house to watch him play. And he was playing Final Fantasy VI, and just something about it. I just remember seeing it, and I thought to myself, that is the coolest effing thing I've ever, I didn't say effing, I was 7 years old or whatever. That's the coolest thing I've ever seen in my life. Just something about it. I still remember exactly where he was in the game because I can kind of reverse engineer it now. And then the first time I played FF7, it was like, that's it. I did that first limit break with Cloud, Braver, and I lost my shit. I don't know what it was. Like, this is the fucking coolest thing I've ever seen. And then I found RPG Maker, and that was kind of what started the journey for me. But yeah, I don't know what it is specifically. It's just something about it really resonated. The stories, storytelling, the characters, the way the combat was, the way the characters looked, the music. I mean, just everything about it just seems so awesome and different. And it was weird because I played a lot of video games, but I never played a video game that had a story. I was like, wait, you can tell stories in video games? That was crazy. Because in Mario, I played Mario on the NES and Mario 3, and the story was as deep as, sorry, the princess is in another castle. I loved those games to death. But then I played a Final Fantasy game. I was like, wow, this is a story with stakes and characters and shit is happening. Like, we blew up a freaking factory. Like, oh my God, I have a giant sword. And so that was what really got it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, B, please.
Yeah, sure. So part of me thinks that like it's just a big nostalgia trip, and part of me that doesn't like that is like, well, in 30 years, I'll hopefully still be alive, but will everybody be talking about how like every game looks like Minecraft, and how if your game doesn't look like Minecraft, like your game sucks, right? So I kind of worry about that. But so I think there's this like nostalgia element, like these are the games I grew up on, and like I love seeing more games come out that look like that. And the other thing is like 2D specifically. I think one of the first things we do when we're little kids is like you get your crayons and you start drawing, and like making 2D art is something that like you do as a kid, and like maybe like that reflects in your affinity towards the style of games that you enjoy. I don't know.
It's true. Even cavemen drew 2D art, right?
Mm-hmm.
They you see them scrawled on the walls, and the Cro-Magnon layers in France. Back my Kickstarter.
You know what I think it is about that art, though, just to pine really quickly? I saw someone say something similar to this on Twitter, but it's I think 2D art and pixel art specifically, it's just abstract enough, but it, like you can see it and you're like, okay, I get what that's supposed to be in real life, but it's just abstract enough where you have to kind of connect the dots with your imagination. Mm-hmm. And that's like perfect fodder for a young kid, right? You see it like that's obviously a dude, that's a sword, whatever, but it's not realistic. It's not photorealistic. So there's like that abstraction that kind of where you have to use your imagination. And I think that might be the reason that art style has just prevailed. It's not because we're lazy or like we don't, like I hear all these people say weird theories about why developers use pixel. Yeah, maybe it's nostalgia, but I think it's a really blossoming art form, and it has a lot more areas to be pushed. And I think there's just something about like why it resonates with people and why I think we're going to keep seeing it from now on. I don't think pixel art's going anywhere personally.
Yeah, and you can express so much emotion with so little in a pixel art game,
which is essential because we can't afford to express so much through something more detailed, like it's
have like 80 frames per character.
Right, like pixel art is expensive enough. But it's significantly cheaper than.
Oh, but it's cheap, yeah.
Yeah, but it's significantly cheaper than animating or like modeling, getting a low poly, rigging, lighting all these 3D characters. You know, over a certain bar, like if you pass like $500,000, 3D probably starts to become cheaper for a little while. Because you know, you can like buy asset packs and you have a full-time rigger and lighter and everything. It's like, okay, we need to create 4 models and we can get like 16 characters out of this by just rigging these guys differently. But you know, below, you know, the high six-figure mark, pixel art's going to be a lot more affordable. And our goal is to tell a story and have content. Our goal is not to be a technical feat. We want people to enjoy the artfulness of it and not be like, wow, the subsurface scattering on your character models is amazing. Like some people play games for that, and that's totally cool. I have no objection. Like
parallax scrolling.
Yeah. I mean, like the first time I played, or I saw Final Fantasy 13, I was like, damn, that looks really good. And it's Square Enix continues to be at the forefront of what games can accomplish in terms of graphics and artistic expression that way. But we just, you know, we're like, we pine for the days when, you know, it was about story and characters a little bit more. And so that's what we're able and want to deliver.
Beautiful.
Well, gentlemen, now it is time to put you in the cauldron, as it were. It is time for the crucible. It is rapid fire time. This is where we get to know you beneath the you. Right now, you're just 3 faces in a few boxes on the internet somewhere being interviewed about a thing that you know a lot about. But now we're going to learn a lot more about you. And so we're going to ask the 3 of you simple questions, and you are going to answer them to the best of your abilities. Peter, is cereal a soup?
No.
Interesting. Andy, you may go.
Wow, you're only going to ask Peter that question?
That's correct. Listen, there's 3 of them. We gotta. There are some that we know that we're gonna have to ask all 3 of them. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Tyler, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I'm gonna say no, bro.
Nah, bruh. Good job, bruh.
Patrick, is bringing leftover fish for lunch at work acceptable?
Only if it's salmon.
That's a good caveat. I like that. And don't microwave it. Yeah, no, microwave fish.
Let's see.
Andy.
I want to do a funky take on like a kill, marry, fuck question with RPG characters, but they're all sort of horrible options.
I understand. I understand, Andy.
So let's see. Let's throw in some good ones. We got Kafka from Final Fantasy VI. We got, what was that name of the chef blue mage from Final Fantasy IX that had the big ass tongue?
Kina.
Yeah, Kina. So we got Kina, Kafka, and who else can we throw in the mix?
Any Sid.
Any Sid, yeah. But
any
I mean,
Sid.
FF7 Sid's pretty fucking. He's good. He's good. He's really good. I mean, you could do the Roach Sid from Final Fantasy IX also.
Yeah. So we're doing FMK of those 3.
Yeah.
If we got to kill Kafka,
you got to kill Kafka.
no fun at any party. I could probably be hetero life mates with a Sid, so we'll have to marry Sid.
There you go.
Like he's gonna be like, he's an engineer. He's gonna be bringing home good income too.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Like, bro, like
well thought answer.
I don't think we can cross swords, but like this, I will cook and clean for you if you're gonna be bringing home the airship money.
Yeah, really good bromance with Sid.
And then I guess that leaves F, Queena, and Not sure how that would go.
Listen, that tongue looks like it's
Could be a good time.
multifaceted.
Could be a good time.
Yeah, hell of a
That'd be
time.
like a Zoomer date. You don't not actually sure what you're like. The gender and the sex have nothing necessarily to do with each
Right.
other. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really don't. You show up and you just have to have an open mind.
Right.
Exactly.
Well, something else might have to be open, but we'll discuss that later. Here's a question for the three of you. Any one of you could answer, or you can answer together, discuss it. Which JRPG would make the best 80s sitcom?
Oh, I like that.
My first thought was FF5, but then I was thinking more that's like a maybe early 90s Saturday morning cartoon.
What 80s sitcom are we thinking? Are we thinking like Wings?
Cheers.
Cheers?
Oh, Wings. Wow. I haven't heard about Wings in a long ass time.
So obviously like a pretty campy cast.
Chrono Trigger has got the campiest. You got like one of everything. You got a frog. You got a talking
Frog
frog.
guy, a robot. Yeah.
So who's the character that walks in the store and you get the audience applause?
Who's
Robo
your
walks
Kramer?
in.
That's what's Henry Winkler's character, Fonzie, right? Is that
Yeah,
70s or is that 80s?
No, that was 80s. That was 80s.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was, believe it or not, that was the 80s. Because like in my brain, it was the 50s, but that's because that's where it took place. But it was the 80s.
Yeah. So like, who's the Fonz of JRPGs?
That is a loaded question.
The Londro
I guess-
from Dragon Quest 11, maybe.
Zidane
Sid.
from Final Fantasy IX.
Zidane is
Oh.
kind of, I think, yeah, because he's like too cool for school. That guy.
He just walks in, he bangs on a jukebox, and it
What
starts
about
playing Ring.
Squall?
Squall's too much of a emo, like
Yeah,
loner
but he's got
guy.
like that.
I don't see Fonzie in him.
He doesn't have a catchphrase.
He has
just
like
walk in and go,
he has like
whatever.
the look, but like
Yeah.
personality wise, hell no.
Like
Yeah.
Squall would be. Here's the thing: Squall, like if he weren't a professional killer, he'd be like a serial freelance killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like he would just be killing people still. So it's
Yeah.
good that they channeled its energies into like a
I feel
sorcerer's
like
appropriate.
Squall would be like a mid 90s like soap drama like Gilmore Girls. He's like the bad boy that lives in like the
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest small town.
He's in the basis. He's the bassist of a grunge band.
Yeah, he
Oh,
like wears
yeah.
like a leather jacket and
Edgelord.
But
He's the-
he
he's-
goes
he's
away
the
for
bad guy with
summer
the
to go
heart of
spend
gold.
the summer with his dad. You know, and it's like,
Yeah,
I'll be back.
he smashes.
Whatever.
It's like a scene where he like smashes a boombox with a baseball bat, and the main heroine's like, "I can change him," and it's like a 4-season arc.
Wow,
He always shows up to the diner. And
it,
just, like,
it,
pushes the
it
doors
certainly
open.
went places. That question went places. Andy, it's
Yeah.
your turn.
God, remember the weird amnesia subplot in that game? Holy hell, that takes me back.
Oh, that was the worst part of that game.
It's like we all went to school together. Really?
Are you
That
sure?
came out of nowhere. I may know the answer here because we've talked about Chrono Trigger a lot on this show. It's come a few times, but if you had to pick one sequel to be made, would you rather have, it's for all of you, a sequel to Chrono Trigger, a sequel to Xenogears, or a sequel to Earthbound?
Well, Undertale exists, so
True.
I'm just
Or
But it ain't no
a sequel
Earthbound,
to Legend of Dragoon. I'm throwing that one in there.
well,
It has to
I'd
be
have to-
equally badly translated though. The
Oh,
translation of that has to be just terrible.
Well,
Of
technically,
course.
Chrono Trigger has a sequel, right? Chrono
No, it
Cross
doesn't.
is a sequel. I mean,
I
yeah,
mean,
sure.
We don't talk about Chrono Cross.
Semantics, yeah. I mean, kind of ish, but I want my-
Xenogears. I mean, I don't know how the Xenosaga Xenoblade games connects to Xenogears.
Not really much.
we don't have
I think
to.
I mean I would personally be just enthralled by a Xenogears sequel, like because at the end of the Xenogears script, they like Krellian says, like I don't know if there'll be a place for me upon my return. I'm like, return? You're gonna come back from the higher dimension? Like, so that for me would be like catnip, but like that's like an audience of like 12 people who would get together for that game, and that's not enough.
No, because you know that there would be a remaster, remake, director's something of Xenogears before it, like 18
Now
months
that-
before it.
I'm getting sweaty
You know,
now. I need to turn on my air conditioner.
Easy.
If
Everybody.
that
calm
ever
down.
happens, I don't even know what I'll do. I just have to like take 2 weeks vacation.
Tyler, Peter, you guys are hanging out. Patrick is late. You have not heard from Patrick all morning long. It is close to 11 a.m. now, and you're wondering, where the hell is Patrick? Your phone rings. Ring, ring. Uh-oh, who could this be? It's an unknown number. You pick it up. Hello? This is the Smithfinton Police Department. Patrick has been arrested. What was Patrick's crime?
So he parked in a legal parking zone. And when the cop asked him about it, he just started talking and he wouldn't stop talking. Love you, buddy.
Talking crimes.
Yeah.
Resisting arrest by not shutting up.
No, yeah, I don't know. That's the best I can come up with right now.
I figured he got into a pedantic argument over, the origin of the police baton with an officer, and things just kind of escalated from there.
I'll show you the origin of my police baton. I don't know where it started, but I know where it's gonna end up. Smart guy. Wha-bang! That's how that went. Now, Patrick, you were arrested for resisting arrest via your mouthpiece. You have one phone call to make. It is to Tyler or to Peter. Who are you calling?
Oh, Peter, no doubt. He's got connections.
Oh, snap.
Peter's got a mad connection. He's like, oh, you want to talk to like the guys who did that AMC stock boost? Remember that over the summer, like that where they boosted the AMC. Like he knows those guys.
Oh.
Like I'm sure one of them could get me like those guys don't. They're part of like that vast global deep state conspiracy. They could get me out of jail for running my mouth.
Right.
I like it, Andy. Excuse me.
Who among the three of you is most likely to die first over doing some stupid shit?
Stupid shit.
Stupid shit. Like didn't die of natural causes.
Ah, damn it. What the hell happened? Well, how did he die? Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
Of course he would do that stupid thing.
I feel like maybe Tyler could get so mad about something he sees on Twitter that he has an aneurysm.
Okay.
Wow.
He's just like, I can't believe this is calling devs lazy. I can't. I smell burning feathers.
I get it.
I think the only way that could happen is if like we pulled like a what's it called? A Dumb and Dumber, or someone like mixes my ulcer medication with rat poison, and so I see the tweet and I go to grab it and then I dump it down. I just like chug like 10 pills, and they're like, "No, that's rat poison." I die.
Accidental rat poisoning via ulcer medication. Okay, I like it.
Does Twitter give you ulcers, Tyler? Is that what happens?
What's that? Twitter give you ulcers?
Does Twitter give you ulcers?
Yeah.
Twitter gives most people ulcers.
It gives all of us ulcers.
It started when that one guy said ice magic wasn't water.
Twitter is like Bane. It's like he's like, I am necessary evil. Like you can't like he's just a part of life for game dev.
Yeah.
He's just like, but it also killed a football stadium full of people or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. It killed your dad and raped your mom, basically.
Whoa, easy, buddy. We don't just kill dads willy-nilly around here, okay?
But its blood is also the cure for some disease or something. It's just it's a bad situation.
All right, gentlemen. If you were given the IP of any non-JRPG to create a JRPG of, which IP would you like to do?
Fast and Furious.
Fast and the Furious.
Oh yeah.
That came.
He's been sitting on the side
Oh my god! Can that be the next Kickstarter campaign? I kind of want to see what that would look like.
What about Fraser Tactics?
Well, yeah, that's also in the works.
Did
but,
you just say Fraser Tactics?
Hold on.
Are we amongst Fraser fans?
Hold on.
These
Did
two.
we find our tribe?
Did we
I got
find
scrambled eggs all over my face right now, man.
Oh my god!
We are.
I'm listening.
Our show was founded on Frasier talk because we were both binging Frasier as we started recording this podcast 4 years ago.
So I have only my wife watched all of Frasier a few years ago,
that's
and
what
I
they
would
all
just
say.
I watched a few episodes, but there's a quote we always quote, and it's like later in where I can't remember her name. She's like she's from England.
Oh no, okay.
Daphne.
And she's doing like the American accent. She goes,
Daphne?
sure.
Yeah.
And it's just like me and my wife watched all the freaking time. Sure.
Oh, that was when she crossed the Canadian border.
Right.
She had to
And she's like,
pretend to be
just sound
American.
American. She's like, okay, sure. And I don't know, it's not even funny, but it's really funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an objectively terrible show, but you know,
Whoa, easy. Easy,
I
buddy.
mean, I love it.
Easy.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
Andy and I are both members of the Frasier Reddit.
Yes.
First of all,
I think what he's saying is his guilty pleasure. It's not the sort
it's
of thing.
fantastic television program.
But
But
he-
we
he
also-
I did watch Fuller House, so I don't have too much ground to
Wow.
stand
You
on.
know, your opinion is now invalidated, so I don't care what you think about things anymore.
I watched it. It was so bad.
Anyway,
But-
the answer is Transformers, obviously. Okay, let's move along here. Andy,
Yes,
let's get one more
let's-
question, and then we'll get the hell out of here. And then we'll do the final. Actually, I did the final question the last time we recorded, so you know what? Just do it. Let's hit it up.
Right now, the final
Let's do
one?
it. Let's do it, man.
Oh God!
Let's
All
do
right,
it.
this is it, guys.
Do I need to
We've
brace myself?
Yes.
You do a little bit.
Yes.
We've asked
If you
a
haven't,
lot.
if you haven't shit yourself yet, you're going to now.
You're about to get them depends on. So we've asked you a lot of serious shit on this show, some not so serious shit, but this is the ultimate question, and you could all answer separately or as a collective, as Tyler, Peter, and Patrick, or as something classic, wherever you so choose. And choice is the question at hand, and the choice is simple: Andy or Steven.
Wait, who's that?
I feel like Andy. Well, I don't know. I mean, like it's not like Italian food is bad, but I feel like Andy has the grandma who can hook me up with dolmades.
He gets it. He gets
And
it. And I will.
Nona and I have business.
My yaya will hook you up, dude.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll be like, no, yeah,
If
I'll
you're
wash
looking for
the
a Nona,
dishes.
I got you covered.
Yeah, but like, you know, you can get a lot of good Italian food pretty much anywhere in America. Whereas Greek food, it's like it's a little harder.
It's gotta be done right. I agree.
Okay, that's your. Is that your collective vote?
That's I don't speak. I'm not their attorney.
Okay, so that's one for Andy. Peter,
I vote for not Andy just to be
I knew that was happening. I got a pity vote.
anti
Just
Pat.
to start some shit with me.
I
Got
got
it,
a
got
pity
it,
vote.
got
All
it.
right, so it's
No.
1-1. Tyler has the tiebreaker.
All right, I got a great tiebreaker challenge.
Okay. Oh, a
Oh,
challenge.
it's a challenge.
Challenge. Okay.
Are we bare knuckle boxing, Steven, for the
Oh
point?
man, I can't wait. I've been wanting to punch you right in the fucking mouth for so
Oh, I
long.
bet you have.
For so long.
Speaking of out, yeah. No, just whoever donates the next $500 to the Kickstarter.
I gave you money, period. So
Oh, that's
by
true.
default,
All
I
right,
should win.
he's winning. He's winning.
Time is money, okay? And this is
Let
time.
it be known, Steven, even if he did choose you, it
Yeah.
would still be a tie. Because he just said not Andy. That's not a Steven vote. It's just a not me vote.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to bring us to the end of the show. Thank you so much for listening or watching, depending on where you are in the world and how you're taking us in to your senses. If you want to follow us on social media, we are at duel_screens. I am at Batchild27. Andy is at PantsGuy. Our Facebook group is facebook.com/groups/DS podcasts. If you want to watch us on Twitch, we are twitch.tv/dualscreenstreams. YouTube is youtube.com/dualscreens.tv. Tyler, since you're the social media brosif, can you please tell everybody where they could find you, follow the game, and kickstart and all that fun stuff?
Sure. Just go to twitter.com/somethingclassic, but it's spelled CLASSC, no I at the end. That's where you can find us, somethingclassic.net, or our Discord is www.discord.gg/somethingclassic. That one has the I. And if you go to any of those, you'll find the link to our Kickstarter. If you just look up Quartet, turn-based RPG Quartet on Kickstarter, you'll find our page. But
Awesome.
yeah, that's the best way. Twitter and Discord are the best ways to communicate with us. But if you tell me that water is not, or ice is not water magic, you get an instant ban.
Instaban. I like it.
Instant ban.
That's
No.
good.
We
That's
welcome
good.
even people who believe that. That's fine.
Is boiling water or fire?
You know, that's a maybe our next game has like a hybrid magic system where you combine like elements like fire and water becomes like boiling water. So
Love it.
I like it.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Patrick, and Mark, Paul, Luke, and John, and Jesus, of course, and Judas, and everybody around the table. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, viewers. And as always, please be excellent to each other.